Yo, what up? What up? Welcome back to the Larry Coyote Show. It is I, Larry Coyote. I'm gonna try to keep this very, very brief. Last week I made that attempt, and I'm looking at my previous video, which I said was only going to be 10 minutes, and it actually went up to 35 minutes. So this is more of an exercise to sort of keep the videos coming, but keep them on the shorter end of the spectrum. So I briefly just want to touch on this weekend's DAZN boxing event. I really want to kind of pivot away from boxing, but because it's kind of a go-to, it's a safe, consistent thing. I want to use it as the kind of as a primer to keep things flowing. So, as you know, DAZN was had several fights featured this weekend. Um, the main event, of course, was Logan Paul versus KSI. I believe it was a rematch. However, the way it was announced, it seemed to have been a professional debut for both fighters. So I don't know if the other one was more of an exhibition or sort of an amateur setting. This was actually considered a professional fight, and it actually got a top slot on DAZN. Much to the chagrin of a lot of us purist boxing fans. Now, I personally don't actually have anything against it. I thought it was very well executed. The hype and lead up to it was pretty good. And I think that a lot of these fighters can take a page from both KSI and Paul Logan because essentially we're talking about two YouTube media trained personalities who are very good at hyping events up. They really got crowd engaged, and more importantly, they actually got a lot of non-boxing spectating people to actually tune in for an evening. So that was something I really thought was a positive thing for the sport. Hopefully, it helps to grow it, and maybe we will see one or both of these guys back in the ring. I don't know that I would want to see them fighting a real professional champion, but maybe somebody within kind of their skill range. Themselves, it looks like they took their training very serious. Both of them showed up in shape. Both KSI and Paul Logan did very well for it being a professional debut. They seemed to handle the nerves well. There was a lot of action, in my opinion. So that's pretty much it. I think that when we break down exactly what occurred, it was a 6 round fight, I believe, 3 minutes per round, 18 minutes total, 1 minute of break in between. Probably brings the fight to something around 24 to 25 minutes of action. Um, Unfortunately, I don't care because I didn't really have a dog in the fight, but I do feel bad a little bit for Paul Logan because I feel like he deserved the win. The way he caught him with that, I think it was an uppercut as KSI was ducking was beautiful. It totally rocked his shit and took his legs away, brought his ass down, kissing the canvas. Unfortunately, I think he had a follow up to that as he was dropping. He sort of punched him in the back of the head, did a little bit of dirty work. I don't know. I think the ref was being a little too overzealous, in my opinion, in the way he penalized Logan for 2 points. So those 2 points were very pivotal. I think what they actually ended up causing were they negated the knockout. They gave the round win to KSI too, and because Logan lost the fight by a point, and he had suffered a 2 point penalty, he actually lost the fight on the scorecards. Had he not gotten penalized for those 2 points, let's just say he got one, the fight would have ended in a draw. If he had gotten no points penalized, and I think Jack Reese should have been a little more lenient in the way he penalized him with 2 points, I thought was a really excessive, especially for guys that are kind of doing this as a debut exhibition who are not necessarily professional fighters, but have essentially attempted to come into the sport to make things interesting. I think Jack Reese was a little too overzealous and taking away 2 points. I do not think that he needed to do that. I think he Probably a warning, in my opinion, would have been sufficient, but he took it upon himself to actually take 2 points, thereby causing Paul Logan to lose the fight. If he had taken 1 point, the fight would have ended in a draw, which I actually wouldn't have been mad at. Had he taken no points, Paul Logan would have won. One thing to note, Paul Logan actually did touch the canvas as well a couple rounds before that. His knockdown of KSI occurred. That was not counted. I think it was counted as a slip. The replay showed that it was probably a legitimate knockdown. It did land. I believe it was a right hook. It was a legitimate knockdown, did drop him. So I guess if everything went well and replay did exist in boxing, which it does not, you probably would have ended up with one knockdown for KSI, one knockdown for Paul Logan, and I believe the fight in that instance would have ended in a draw. So essentially another tie, possibly slingshotting this to a third event, final rematch to conclude this YouTube rivalry. So I don't know. What are you going to do? KSI seemed to be satisfied with the results. I don't blame him for taking his W, walking away, and possibly announcing retirement. Paul Logan's probably a little salty that he lost that fight on a technicality, because he did, honestly, I think if Jack Reese wouldn't have given KSI the breather, KSI would have gotten right back up to get his ass kicked. That break that he got in between that penalized Paul Logan for the 2 points was pretty substantial and was enough to actually get him to survive another round and finish the fight. But I believe that he had he just gotten a straight 10 count, he would have gotten up, said he's okay, and set himself up for a beatdown that probably would have ended in a his corner either throwing in the towel or the referee possibly just waving off the fight and giving it to Logan, or maybe 2 more consecutive knockdowns or a total knockout altogether of KSI. I do not believe that he had his full faculties about him when he hit the canvas. He was able to get it back, but only due to the generosity of Jack Reese allowing him the ability to recover. So I don't know. I think KSI is probably the smarter guy in actually calling it a day, taking his W and going away. Paul Logan mentioned something about possibly staying in the sport and doing more. Against who? I want to know. If anybody has any names out there, feel free to leave them on the chat. So going on 8 minutes, I want to leave it at that just to keep my future videos here and now brief, brisk, easy to digest. I will still do long videos, but I got to line up probably people hanging out, more of a dialogue going. I really just want to make them single issue, single subject, bite-sized data for people to look at. I'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you for tuning in. It is Monday, November 11th. Have a good day and have a good start to the rest of your week, everyone. Take care.